I'm a male 21 years old and I dated this girl who was about a year younger than me for a little over a year. We went through all the basic relationship steps. We fell in love. We moved in together, got a dog together, and then when I felt the time was right, I bought her a ring, proposed, and she said yes. But throughout our entire relationship there were a few instances that raised some flags for me. She would lie to me about who she was texting. I would somehow find out, and she would then admit that she lied and apologize and say it wouldn't happen again. But similar things happened at least 4 or 5 more times we were dating. One occasion I noticed that she was still texting her ex, which I was fine with at the time, but he was saying things like "I still love you," and rather than shut him down she just kinda brushed it off and kept talking to him. And I told her I wasn't okay with that, and she said okay, that's fine, and she apologized and said she wouldn't do it again. This happened again 2 or 3 more times with different exes, guys from her past. At this point I was a pretty paranoid boyfriend, and so I stooped so low I snooped through her phone one evening. I found out that she was talking again with one of the guys from her past, except this time she was definitely flirting, saying things like if things were different we would totally be together. Not only that, but was also talking me down to this guy, saying I'm not a good boyfriend and that I'm mentally abusive to her. Now I'm not a fantastic stand-up guy, but I like to think I was a pretty good guy to her. I never hurt her or cheated on her, and I would always talk her up when she's feeling down and try my best to make sure she knew that I thought she was a beautiful, amazing person, even through our faults and issues. So this for me was a big problem. I brought it up and we got into a big fight. At the end of it all we slept apart for a few days, and then after that we got coffee and talked through it and she apologized and things went back to normal for a long while. During this time we had moved in together and adopted the aforementioned dog. And I had proposed after our 1 year and 4 month anniversary. It was a great proposal. I had my sister and her friends help me out and we laid candles everywhere and printed off a whole bunch of pictures of us and taped them around the room and had our song playing in the background, and it was just great, and I was feeling good about us because we were doing swell and it had been a while since anything bad happened between us, and I was just super ecstatic when she said yes, and it was all just great. A month or two of being engaged passed that went super smoothly and greatly, until we again got into a fight regarding her lying to me about an ex she was talking to and seeing apparently, but not sleeping with as far as I know. We went through the same motions, except this time I called off the engagement and she committed herself to a mental ward for a few weeks to figure herself out. She was diagnosed with depression and anxiety. During her stay I kept to myself and thought through everything. When she got back we gave things another shot, but I knew that we were through. So I packed my things and left. And that was that. For a while anyway. A few months passed and we both moved into the same campus apartment complex. Coincidentally, we both started dating other people, but none of those relationships worked. We met up a few times and caught up with each other. One thing led to another and we were sleeping together again. She had an outburst shortly after where she stormed into my place of work and yelled at me over a rumor one of our mutual friends spread about her cheating on me, which was true to an extent, but after that she apologized like she usually does and she claimed she's had time to change and says she's definitely not the same person anymore. My family and friends disagree, so I guess my question to you all is, should I give her another chance? I want to say no. I feel like that's the obvious answer. But we have such a big history and I did love her at one point, and I don't want to blow my chance of being with someone just because I'm listening too much to my family's advice rather than listening to my own or an unbiased opinion. Sorry for how long this is, and I'm sorry for any grammar or punctuation mistakes. I'm a busy guy and I'm low-key having a panic attack trying to figure this out and make a decision. Long story short, my mentally unstable ex-fiancé flirted with other guys throughout our relationship. So I ended the engagement, left her, but now we're sleeping together and she claims to have worked on herself and changed enough for me to take her back. But my family and friends disagree. Ex-girlfriend begging me to take her back. So in late December 2019 I started talking to a girl because she thought I was pretty cute. We instantly clicked and got closer and closer every day until February, when we eventually made things official. Just to add, she was my first kiss and who I lost my virginity to. As soon as we made things official, things went amazingly. I was the happiest I've ever been. We went on dates, days out, hung out at night times. I stayed at her house, etc., until about a month later when she broke up with me because she wasn't sure if she was ready for a relationship. I was devastated. The worst state I've ever been in thus far. Eventually, we kept speaking, then a few weeks later we got back together again and things went well for the first few weeks, when she ended it again for the same reason pretty much. Bear in mind I'd done nothing wrong ever to this girl. I treated her like a princess and she threw it all back in my face. Of course, there's a lot more to the story, but it's a quick TLDR. We never argued at all. Just spoke about things that worried us. Second breakup happened at the end of March. Ever since she ended me the second time, she has been intermittently begging me to get back with her. She constantly tells me things would be different. She would treat me like I treated her. I'm the love of her life. She wouldn't prioritize stupid things over me, etc. She sent nude photos and kissed someone after we broke up, which really hurt me and still does to this day. Last set, I spoke to her in person and seen her cry her eyes out for the first time ever. None of her friends have ever known her to cry at all, so it meant a lot to me that she realized where she went wrong. We spoke it out and she kept repeating all of the previous things. Would be better, treated better, etc., etc. When I finally told her I didn't want anything else, this was really hard. I cried. She cried. It was horrible. I really don't know what to do about this situation. I don't know if I still love her. I don't know if I want another relationship after this shit show. But I do know I keep wanting to message her for some reason. I was hoping somebody could shed some light on the situation. I'm only 18 years old and I would really welcome the advice. Thanks. How do I return to my husband after a decade apart? 10 years ago, I left my husband after being caught multiple times cheating on him. I was the one who left. Each time, my husband caught me cheating. And it was 3 times. He would cry and then always insist that he loved me and express concern for my soul. Looking back, I see that he was being selfless. He was shelving his own pain and focusing on keeping me from damning myself. Back then I saw him as being weak. I was a terrible person and not at all fit to be a wife or mother back then, but for some reason that man loved me in spite of all my evils. At the end of our relationship, I found myself believing I was in love with my latest affair partner, and I divorced my husband and left the church. I became what you'd call a militant atheist, and I urged my children to leave the church, abandon their faith, and live a worldly life. All the while, my husband never displayed his anger or frustration, which I'm sure he must have felt. Instead, each time I saw him, he greeted me with a smile and was genuinely interested in how I was doing. This only filled me with rage because I felt he was being passive-aggressive. My perception was my reality. I don't want to bore you all with our entire story, but the last 10 years have been painful and enlightening. We had 5 children together. Recently, in speaking with our older children, my oldest daughter told me that her father has not dated anyone. I was shocked. I thought surely he would have moved on by now. And then she said something that felt like it slapped me awake. She said, "I asked Dad why he hasn't dated. And he told me, because I'm a married man." I feel beside myself. I feel like I've awoken to a terrible reality that I myself created. I feel stuck in action. I want to go to him and tell him I'm sorry. But I don't know if I have the right. What should I do? I, 29 female, left my ex 28 male because I thought he was holding me back in life. I now realize that he was the only thing worth living for. Is there any chance of getting him back? About a year ago, I broke up with the man I love. At this time, we were just starting to plan our marriage and life together, and I got scared. At the time, I was 28 and realized I had never truly lived life. My ex was a very down-home kind of guy. He never really aspired to travel or live like I did. He was content with spending every night at home watching Netflix or playing video games. Honestly, he seemed a safe of a choice, even though he had a good job and was the nicest man I had ever met. I thought that our life together would be monotonous and dead. So, one day, I packed my bags and left. I called him one last time to tell him that I wasn't able to go through with it, that he was just too timid for me, and that I could never see myself with him for the rest of my life. At the time, he was broken. He called me every night begging me not to go, and I made the mistake of not hearing him out. Only 2 weeks after that, I jumped on a plane to France to explore Europe for 6 months. Well, now a year has passed, and honestly, my life has fallen apart. I only spent a month overseas before breaking down and coming home. I never even left Paris. Ever since I came back, I've felt so lonely. No one seems to even know I'm here anymore. In that short time, it was like all my friends moved on with their lives and had more important things to do than spend time with me. All of my coworkers moved on, and because I took a month off so quickly, my job seems to see me as nothing more than a liability. And honestly, the biggest regret I have is my ex. Ever since I got back, dating has been a nightmare. No decent man even looks twice at me, and those who do only want one-night stands or a beneficial friendship. From this, I know how lucky I was with my ex. He was a decent, hardworking man who loved me for who I was. And in hindsight, his down-home nature is just what I needed. So last month, I decided to get into contact with him. We've reconciled and gone out for coffee a few times to chat. His life is great from what I can see. His career has taken off. He now owns a nice house, and he seems happier than ever. All of this without me. I regret this so much. I still love him more than ever, and last night I told him that. All he responded to me with was cool before hanging up, and now he is ignoring me. I still love him and I regret every mistake I made. How can I fix this? Is there any chance I have to get him back?